I think living in Lithuania, where the main sport is basketball, is like we say it's religion rather than a sport back home. I mean, my mom played basketball, wasn't at any professional level, but just local level. But really, one of my best friends who we went to school to, his dad used to practice in the evenings with like what was called veterans. And then he used to take us in the evenings with him to practice. And we just kind of used to shoot basketball on the side, just away from adults. And then we found out that there was a club for, young kids. We joined the club, and then, ever since, we're about, I think, 6, 7 years old when we started. Yeah, I think if I give you an analogy like comparing to, UK, I think, everyone who got a ball, they think like, okay, I'm going to be a footballer here. So Lithuania is kind of basketball. And I mean, I'm from small town, and basketball at that time was kind of one of the sports that, was open to us. And I mean, I'm glad that I took that path. Oh yeah, there was obviously we have quite a few legends and superstars from Lithuania who kind of now retired, but I always looked at my own position, which was like the guard, point guard. So I always idolized Šarūnas Marčiulionis, who he's already finished playing, but he was one of the first ones to go and play in NBA. And once he finished playing, he had his own academy in Lithuania. So my city sports school, we used to play against his academy, and we biggest rivals and all that. So I mean, and when I was young, actually they came to our town because there was some kind of like star event for the adults. But then obviously as a kids, we were the like warm-up game before that, and Marčiulionis himself, he was there. And after the game, I was awarded for MVP, and he gave me actually the basketball, shaking my hand. That to me, that was like massive. I wouldn't say I had somebody that really kind of looked up, because, back in the day, we like I said, Lithuania was still part of Russia when I was a kid growing up. So, a lot of things we didn't see what's going on past the border. But I just always kind of was, I knew I wanted to do something with my life different than just be a normal human being. I said, I want to do something that I'm going to be known for or whatever. And it's just, like I said, basketball gave me all that. Well, as a kid, one thing I do remember, I mean, back in those days, it was black and white TV, and I remember my parents got a color TV. And then any time we played CSKA Moscow, which was the biggest Russian club, which is still until this day, and I was Lithuania, we had Žalgiris, and I remember parents, neighbors, kids, we're all in one room watching the game, and that was like one of the biggest rivals in those days. I went through the situation where my parents woke me up at like 2, 3 in the morning, me and my brother, because the Russian tanks came to Lithuania, were trying to take over the, parliament building and everything else. And, obviously we're looking on TV, and then some Russian dude talking, on TV, which was scary, but we had to go through that, so.
Look, I'm getting the ball, I'm stepping back now, I'm doing this, look, I'm sending, and then I'm finishing.
Oh yeah, because I mean, if you look at the history of Lithuanian basketball, we're such a small country, like 3.5 million people, and probably now with all this, open European borders, a lot of people go to different countries, like, myself being in UK. I went to America when I was 15. So I went there, and I was a senior in high school. But when I came to States, I literally spoke no English. All I knew is yes, no, big, and I think I love you, because I've seen in films, But this school was really supportive, the high school, the principal, and basically, rather than having me, keyboarding, which is like ICT lessons, they said you're going to have English for junior, sophomore, and senior grades. As long as you can pass one of those, you're going to be able to graduate. So I managed to kind of pick up English pretty quickly, and they said, "Are you sure you never, learn English?" I said no. So maybe I'm just, receptive to like languages and can quick learner. So I actually passed all the grades apart from senior, because senior was like Shakespeare and all that, and it was just a bit over my head. But I did manage to graduate from high school in 2001. Well, it wasn't even immigration, because I was emigrating because my parents stayed at home, and my brother, he was just like opportunity arose to me, because obviously at that age I was playing for Lithuania national team as well for the juniors, and we got an extra exposure, and American coach, saw me play, and he offered me the possibility. So he said, we're going to give you a scholarship, we're going to place you with American family to live. And yeah, I just took that as an opportunity because back in the day especially, that was like something new, going to America and big. I returned back to Lithuania in 2004 or 5, can't even remember now, and I started a professional career back in Lithuania. One thing for sure, I always knew I want to be either PE teacher because I loved sports so much, or go into coaching. And as I more grew up, and kind of, got older, it just I knew that that's the path I want to take because, there's a famous saying, go where your passion is, because then you're not going to work a day. So, and that's why I I am where I'm at now with the coaching. Well, it's funny because I was literally going through my Facebook, just scrolling the timeline, and I seen there was advertised, the post for the job, and I thought, okay, I'm only like a half an hour away, and I always wanted to start coaching about this time anyway because I thought it's about right time, and then I just applied, and a couple emails there and back, and they said, your application was really strong, and would like to see doing like the demo session and come to interview. And obviously, after all of that, I was successful in getting the position. Well, the move to England, because basically it was, like I said, I played professional back at home for all these years. I played in Latvia, Lithuania, I played in Holland, all the top divisions. And I got injured. I had a groin injury in 2008. No, hang on, 2006. Yeah, 2006. And basically, nobody wants to sign you while you're injured, especially a groin injury, because that might take about 3 months to recover, and nobody knows what's going to happen. So I said, you know what, I speak English, come to England and see what's in England. Yeah. So I came to England and I played in Midnight Madness in London. And then one of the owner's daughters saw me play in London, and she approached me and she said, would you come to Leicester Riders training in Leicester, because I was in Birmingham at that time. I said, yeah, why not? So I came, and then Coach Martin Ford was the first coach there. And, after the kind of trial day, they said, we would like you to play for us. And that's how I kind of end up in Leicester. And I'm still based in Leicester, so. Well, and that's one of the comparisons, I'm kind of look at in general, because as a player and now as a coach, because when I joined now, the English basketball, from then to now, the difference I see, I wouldn't say it's changed as much in like basketball development as a whole, but obviously BBL has improved as, now with all the digital age, it looks all pretty because of all the teams, they got the more sponsors. I mean, the games are still not televised. There's only a couple of games from, what I heard of what I've seen. So I think it's still not there where it could have been. And 10 years is a lot of time, but I always look at the grassroots. And like looking at the grassroots, I don't see much change because, if you look at BBL players or like Division 1 players, still most of the, main guys are foreigners, which is not what you want. You want the locals, to grow. Base of everything is like, I always give that knowledge. You can build a house if you don't have a stable foundation. So, and I think that's where England basketball as a whole, not just organization, but as a whole, I think is lacking because one, the system is so much different than, like, say, if I give a comparison to Lithuania, like what we have, depending on the size of a city, we'll have what's called sports schools. So each sports school will have like different, areas of subject like basketball, tennis, whatever that might be. But then when you go there, you got qualified professional coaches, you get coached 5 days a week, and then you play on the weekends. And basically all that is free. It's paid by government because government pays the coaches. Where here the problem is that the parents have to pay the coaches, right? Some of the coaches might be not as good or qualified, even though they have qualification, but I've seen some horrendous coaching in England. Oh no, of course, it's like I said, Lithuania, it's like we love basketball. It's like here football, you know. I'm sure if you go out there and try to, you know, get involved with football, you would have so many more specialists in that area, from coaching staff, from everything else. You know, the way everything is run, you'll be so much more professional. So I think that's why maybe basketball is still behind, and you know, some changes maybe need to, you know, happen to make it better. And even in my resume, you know, for this job, it said, you know, I want to do whatever I can do to improve the basketball in England in general. You know, that's kind of my aim. I want to pass my knowledge, my experience, you know, whether to younger generation, whether to, you know, to students who already kind of like, in Lithuania, we consider 18, 19 to be, you know, late, because we start really early. But obviously, you know, some of the students come here, they don't start, they already started the basketball before that. It's just what kind of coaching or what kind of level of coaching they had prior to, you know, coming here, so. Well, obviously, you know, living in Lithuania and, you know, be born in Lithuania, I always wanted to play for Žalgiris, which is like the most known team in Europe and in the world, really. And like I said, these were the famous rivals, you know, Lithuanian Žalgiris versus Russian Moscow CSK. So I always kind of dreamt to play for that. And my friend who we started basketball with, he actually played for them for a year or two. I mean, I never said to him, but I was like envious of obviously his achievement. But I mean, in a good way, not in a bad way. We still keep in touch and we always talk daily. So, well, to be honest, and like looking at what we have at the moment, because obviously this is my first year. It's like first couple of months really. We have some talent who could really like go and play in Europe, and probably, you know, do some great things in basketball. But I don't want to mention names, because obviously I'd rather work on their game and help him, and hopefully they can go and achieve some, you know, good basketball things, and then we can come back and talk about it later. When I came in, and I said to the guys right away, obviously I said, look, I'm a new guy, I'm a new coach, you're gonna, you know, because there were some returners who were, you know, been here previous year or maybe a couple of years before that. And I said, you know, it's going to be something new to you. But what I tried to apply, you know, the things that I went through as a young basketball developing guy, and then as a professional player, and try to implement those things. So I said to guys, one, it's really important, is commitment, because from what I understand and from what I heard from, you know, other colleagues of mine, other coaches who coach at different universities, it's the commitment that's the problem. Because obviously, I understand we have studies, I understand we have, you know, things to do, but I always say, look, if you want to do something in life, you will always find time to do it. So we got that kind of going. So guys are turning up to practice, and we have pretty good, you know, turnout. I think because we have, obviously we keep the stats and everything else, and I think if we look at it, we have probably about 90% of, you know, attending every, you know, practices, so which is quite good. And that's what the club president tells me from last year or previous year, that wasn't the case. Well, you see, and that's why I always kind of, you know, in my head, I'm kind of trying to draw schemes or how you know, we could improve game of basketball in England in general. And I always said, you know, you should really start from, like, you know, talking the schools, really. You know, if we go into schools, like even primary schools or whatever, just introduce the game, you know, early, let the kids choose, give them the option. Because at the moment, it always seems like, you know, football is like they said, everyone knows there's football there. But like basketball, when I was playing for Leicester Riders, I was a development officer as well for the club. So we used to go to a lot of schools out there, and a lot of kids never knew about basketball, never touched the basketball. But then what we had as well, we used to invite them to the games. So when they came with the parents, they're like, parents, I never knew the basketball is so exciting or is so fast or so dynamic. So I think it's lack of awareness, you know, as well. But to improve in general, I think it needs to be, you know, from the grassroots, like I said, you know, from the young age, developing, you know, the young children, young kids, and then through schools, you know, have some kind of partnership that they have with universities and colleges, and that would feed into it. Because at the moment, I think the way it looks like, you know, at a university level, it's are you getting lucky to get the student through the door just because he lives nearby, or maybe because he wanted to do the course and then he happened to be a good basketball player, rather than like in America, say for example, American model. I went there because of basketball, and then I worked around with my education, whatever, you know, I chose to do, which that's how it's kind of sets up, where here you come for education, but then it's basketball there for you available. Obviously from the job interview, from what I understood, they wanted a change and they wanted something new and fresh. So when I came, well, in the interview I told him, I said, look, I'm here to, and when I came to practice, I told the guys, I'm here to make you better basketball players, right? That's the first of all. The results will come, because university, obviously, they want the results straight away. They like, we want this, we want that. Everyone wants to win, you know, that's just natural. But I said, look, first of all, I want to make you better players. If you're going to leave this year, or if you leave in 2 years, wherever you're going to go, I want you to feel that you got better as a basketball player and you can join another team and make an impact, rather than say, oh, I was on this team, you know, and I made you know, I just was part of the university team. And obviously, talking about Trent University, after being here for a month or so, I found out what's all about, his biggest rivalry. And obviously, you know, this season we already played them twice, and the first time it was at home, which was, you know, our kind of really, really important game, which guys played really well, and we managed to win by 12 points. And then we had another encounter with Trent, which was last week, and we actually lost by 2 points. Even though some of the community here in Nottingham University questioned why we lost the game rather than, you know, winning the game, and we tried to explain to them that actually that was my decision to lose the game by 2, because if we could have gone for overtime, which is score another 2 points, and we could have played another additional 5 minutes. But if you play another additional 5 minutes, you don't know what's going to happen in that time, because we could have lost by 13, because then the points difference, they would be up. So because we only lost by 2, we're still up by 10 points, so that's why we're at the top of the table. So sometimes you just, you know, you want to win every game, but sometimes you have to be smart about how you do it. No, of course, and like I said, you know, before every game, it's not that I just, you know, put my backpack and turn up with the coaching board. I do a lot of analysis. I look at the other scores, how the other teams played, how, you know, where their results are. And then obviously I'm thinking about plan B and C. You know, it's not just plan A. Plan A is always to win. And don't get me wrong, it hurt me to lose, because up to that point we haven't lost a game, and you know, and we still have 3 games left in the season. So when I told the guys, I said, look, we had about 20-30 seconds to go. We obviously, the way the game went, I said, look, we're either going for a win, which is a 3-pointer, or we're going to lose by 2, because we're not going for the overtime. So we tried. There was few possessions where we probably could have scored a 3-point, but obviously didn't go our way. But the game was really good. It was 80-78, so it was, you know, really, really good battle, you know, of 2 top teams, really. And like I said, we just had to take that decision. Well, to be honest, and this is another thing with the teams, you don't know how the season is going to progress, because like we have our biggest guy, Paul Jabota, right? And after 2-3 games in the season, he got injured with his ankle, so he was out for literally 6 to 7 weeks. So all these games we played without kind of having a big center guy. In basketball, you know, it's a must. You have to have one. So obviously, there's a lot of players that kind of, you know, had to do, you know, extra work and kind of, you know, just cover while Paul wasn't there. And Paul actually came back on that game, the second game versus Trent. And, you know, coming from injury, not really training for the team for 6 weeks, has done really well to help us, you know, in that result. So like I said, you know, if you look overall, it's like little things, you know, little injuries that you cannot predict, or somebody, you know, maybe have some family thing, they cannot be there. And like I said, and that's the difference between being a university sport rather than kind of professional outfit, because when you pay somebody money, then, you know, no matter what happens, usually, you know, you have to be there. Where here, it's kind of, you have to be more lenient and understanding as a coach. Well, to be honest, obviously, I looked at the first game, how we played against them, what they did against us, what they did well, what did we do well, and I emphasized to the guys, I said, look, it's the battle for the, rebounds, after missed shots. And we did okay in most part, but there was times where, one or few balls can change a game. And like, for example, I always tell the guys, and we had this season about 5 times this happening. Last 5 seconds, we like, okay, nothing's gonna happen. We kind of slow down, and next thing you know, they score a 3 or 2, with the last second, which is at that point doesn't make a difference because it's like second quarter. You think, okay, I have another 2 quarters to make for that. But for example, Trent game, right? I think it was second quarter or first quarter. I don't want to lie. I think it was second quarter, and literally there was 1.6 or 1.8 seconds left. They're inbounding the ball, and I said to guys, play good defense because we can't afford it. Guess what happened? They scored a 3-point. Take that 3 points from the score. We'll be won by 1 point. And that's why I tell the guys after the game, I say, look, I told you, every little thing is going to come to the play because, every rebound, every lost ball, every little thing like that, it makes a difference in the game. That's another thing that I spoke to committee and to players. I said, look, guys, talk to your friends, tell them about basketball, tell them it's exciting and come watch it, because I know myself, playing in a gym where there's 3 or 4 people watching you, sometimes you're like, yeah, you just get on with the things and you play whatever. But when you have that support and somebody, chanting you on and all this, it just gives you the extra boost. And sometimes that can make a difference in the game. And I think like the game versus Trent at home, it definitely, gave us that little push because, the game was even really the whole 3 quarters, and only in the last quarter, like last 5 minutes, we kind of ran away a bit with a little, lead. But I think it's thanks to the crowd. And I mean, I wish we could bring more people through the doors, definitely. Well, obviously about Varsity, some guys told me about it, so I kind of have an idea that it's obviously a massive event for both universities. And I did watch some of the intro video clip that there's online, and obviously it gets your blood going, So definitely I understand how big that is and how, important is that for, I think, for university prestige, and I think for any club as well, because don't get me wrong, we want to win that, so. Before every game, we always have a chat in the locker room before the game. I always have the pre-game chat, and sometimes, after the game chat if I feel we need it. And I always prepare the guys for it. I explain to them that for some of you guys, it's going to be probably the only opportunity to, to play in such crowd, and experience what the real kind of basketball world looks like. Because if you think about, when I play professional, you play against these crowds kind of day in and day out. So it's nothing new. You got used to it, to the noise, to the crowd, to the numbers of how vast the numbers are. But it's definitely going to have to prepare, some of the guys. I know they're going to be like, some of them going, legs shaking and, hands shaking. But I know myself, that's a good sign because that means you care. That means you're thinking about it. But I used to be in the same mode. Before a big game, you kind of feel a bit comprehensive and you kind of like, oh, you got the goosebumps. But then once you step on the court, all that goes away and just all basketball. So. Well, I think tactics is definitely still be a big part of the game, but like I said, I think that what we call a 6th man, the crowd, yeah, that's going to be a different, a game changer in the game, and I think it can do a lot of good for our team if we get a good crowd. Oh yeah, like I said, we definitely have an exciting squad. We'll have some guys who can, shoot the lights out on any given day. We have, like I said, Paul, who can, dunk the basketball and do some crazy dunks. So we had the preseason trials, which kind of really surprised us because as I spoke to Adam, he mentioned to me that it's the biggest crowd they ever had. It was about, I think, 150, turned up. So that was really good, and we managed to find some gems in there, and we had some guys who, from that tryout, actually is our starting 5 the whole season. So like I said, you never know where you're going to find a gem. You just sometimes have to look for it. So in terms, obviously, of recruiting, we're already thinking about next year. we're having players who's reaching out to us. We have, players who I've been referred to. So this is another kind of big part of my job as well that I have to kind of look into and, get ready for next year, not even just this year. So there's already like works in pipeline that is going on behind the scenes. Oh no, of course, Adam is massive for us. And like I said, I don't know whether you know his title, is actually a captain of the team. And that's why I kind of gave him the title, because I felt that, he's going to be the guy that, can bring us all together, and whatever needs to be happen, he's going to be the one that is going to get it done. And so far, I mean, he's gone above and beyond, doing everything for the team and like help me out, to get obviously used to what's going on here, how the system works, and with everything else. So Adam is definitely a key role, a big person for us in the club. Coaching, that's what I want to be. This is my passion. This is what I feel I'm good at. This is what I've done all my life. So, I don't know whether you heard about famous Gary Vaynerchuk online, but he's this online, guru in America. And basically he says, don't try to do something that you don't know. Do something that you're good at and you know what you're talking about, you're always going to be successful. So obviously that's why, I want to stay in sport. I want to stay in basketball. I want to, pursue my dreams and goals. When I came to university, I told him, I said, look, I'm going to be here for a while, as long as you guys keep me. Obviously, I know you need to perform like anyone else. So far the results, I think I might be getting another contract next year, hopefully. So, but my ambitions obviously is, to move on and probably, see myself going to America and doing some coaching there, and kind of, whether it's, high school again, whether it's university, where it's going to take me, I don't know. But definitely I have a set goal to become the best coach I can be, Well, I wouldn't say it's the ultimate, but obviously, myself being in Europe and being, in England and being in America. In America, the basketball is so popular and it's so advanced that, like when some of the things that I have to teach here, they already know. You know what I mean? And like I said, I think that's the difference between, they grassroots levels and, here we're still not at the same par. And how long is it going to take it in England? I don't know. But I wish, I'll be the one that kind of helps the game of basketball, development in general. So at the moment and probably forever, Nottingham's going to stay, one of the best things that ever happened to me, because at the end of the day, that's where my basketball coaching career has kicked off. So it's always going to become my, my one of the closest kind of, things that I'm going to keep to myself as a coach, because they gave me the start. And if hopefully we can do well and win some championships or trophies. And like I said, it's always going to remain one of the most important things in my basketball career, because that's where I started. So it will never go away.